everybody, welcome back once again to the RetroGameFix.com Retro Jones podcast number 91. This is your host, Mitch.
And this is Mike.
And here we are once again, episode 91. Mike, I'm going to waste no time and I'm going to toss it right over to you. What do you have to say?
91 episodes. Here's the thing. Before we get to our first topic, which is VR, because it's all the rage right now, I just want to remind everybody, if you want to get in touch with us, 678-995-5103 is the voicemail. Otherwise, questions at RetroGameFix.com. Otherwise, Twitter.com, Facebook.com, YouTube.com/RetroGameFix. So anyway, Mitch, on Tuesday, I believe, the PlayStation VR is launching.
I can't believe it's already here.
Yeah, it's here. And it's here and it's out, and there's reviews, and most of the reviews are in, and they're pretty positive. But we are, I think I had one pre-ordered and canceled it. I think you had one pre-ordered and canceled it before you had a PS4.
Yeah, I hope I canceled it. I think I canceled it. Actually, I should check that like immediately.
Should probably double check that. So anyway, here's the thing. Yep. If you have a PlayStation 4, you got two options. With PlayStation VR, the base unit, just the headset, launched at $399. Otherwise, and that was for people that maybe had some Move controllers or had the PlayStation camera laying around. Otherwise, for $499, you would get two PlayStation Move controllers, the PlayStation camera, and the PlayStation VR. So $499, and you're in the door, and a lot of people have PS4s. But that's all that said, on October 9th, how excited are you about VR, having owned the Oculus like we have?
Like VR in general or anything specific? Are we talking about the PlayStation VR or no?
I think I'm trying to level set where we were with VR. I think because it's been a while that we've talked about VR. So to kind of set the stage and then maybe jump in here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mitch and I both had Oculus dev kits, and we enjoyed them. And we were, you'd have to go back to like podcast like 40 or something like that.
I was really sick for a long time because VR sickness is a thing.
Yeah, but we had some fun with it, but we kind of came out of it and we ended up selling our VR headsets. But we were still excited about VR, I think, at that point. And at some point, I think the excitement kind of waned. I'm not sure why, though.
Well, I mean, I know why it was for me, because I couldn't use it because I got VR sickness every time I used it. I mean, I was actually just talking, I think we talked about it earlier, or was it you or my wife? I can't remember. I think it was you. But anyways, it was just like, you know, my friends that came over and checked it out played it for a lot longer than I did. Because I couldn't. I wanted to, believe me. And there was one time I went for like 2 hours and I was sick for like the entire rest of the day. And I know they fixed that though. And so that's different. I mean, that's different. I would have probably, it's hard to say if I would have kept it had they fixed that. Probably.
Well, okay. So here's the thing. So I now remember why I kind of lost interest. For me, it was more, well, a lot like you, I didn't get sick with some of the stuff you did. I enjoyed the roller coasters and some of the other stuff and Affected and some of the horror stuff.
No, I enjoyed them. It was just there was kind of a limit to how much I could enjoy them. I liked what I saw. Sure.
So for me, I liked what I saw, but I think our biggest want was, as huge racing fans, was racing is going to be mind-boggling.
Right.
But having the racing sim setup that I had and putting the headset on, it was just too much because your brain was tricked into thinking it was in a car that it wasn't actually in.
Mm-hmm.
And it was actually,
hit a wall.
Yeah, it was actually, well, not even the hitting the wall. It was just more difficult to race because your mind really was looking for the weight of the car when you were slowing down and accelerating. It just wasn't there. And it's looking for that when you're in front of a screen as well. But
yeah,
when you're really tricking your brain, it was more of a novelty than something I wanted to do all the time. And so for that reason, I said, you know what, this is really cool, but it's not something I'm going to use very often. It's still going to be like, hey, look at how cool this is when friends come over.
Right.
So, and I think that was kind of the thing for both of us. Hey, look at how cool this is when friends come over. And then we were like, this is a pretty expensive paperweight.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty much what it turned into. And, you know, it's really hard to say how things would have turned out had that not been an issue. Like if I had one now that was fixed, I'm really curious as to what. No, look, I mean, how long has it been now? It's probably been a year and a half. Right?
Yeah, it would have been. Well, it would have been. Yeah, I mean, well,
maybe give or take.
Yeah, give or take a few months. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So I miss that. Like there have been times now that I'm further removed from it. Like, look, in the first year and some change, I didn't think about it again. But now I'm kind of getting the itch. I got to be honest about you, because the first question you had asked, where I kind of didn't know where to go with it, or I didn't know specifically like where we were going with it, was what do you feel about VR now? And I kind of miss it. I got to be honest. And look, PlayStation VR, I don't know. I mean, what are people really saying? Like, is it just a bunch of mini games, or is there anything good coming out? Is it just a bunch of ported stuff from, PlayStation into the PlayStation VR? I mean, is there anything original in there worth anything?
All right. So this is kind of a loaded question. I'm not sure where to tackle it. So jump in if I start to go a little bit out of right field. The answer is yes, there's original stuff. But is it anything we haven't seen? No.
Mm-hmm. I think that was more my question.
Yeah. So no, it isn't anything we haven't seen as far as PC goes. So here's where we're kind of in this weird area, right? Where, I listened to the Giant Bombcast and the Giant Beastcast, giantbomb.com. I'll give him credit. And one of the people on the show is from CNET, and they asked him, what rating did you give the Valve Vive, or the HTC Vive essentially, and what rating did you give the PlayStation VR? And the Vive, they gave an 8.1, and the PlayStation VR, they gave a 7.9. But in the conversation, there's been a lot of conversation about how the Valve is full-on room-scale VR, keeps all the light out, has high-res graphics, all of this stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the PlayStation VR is, for all intents and purposes, low-res. Doesn't keep all the light out because the screen kind of floats in front of your face. And quite honestly, most of the reports out right away are, since light comes in, the resolution is low and the frame rate isn't always consistent, that it causes a lot of sickness.
Really? I thought they took care of that. I guess not for them. Yeah, because the frame rate.
And so I wanna point out one thing, and I'm not sure if there's a conversation here, but I want to get this thought out because
go ahead.
With video game reviews, whether a game is $20 or $60, these sites often say we don't take price into consideration, we just review the product. When it comes to hardware, if the PlayStation VR is a 7.9 and the Vive, which is light years ahead from VR, is an 8.1, according to CNET, not all sites, I feel like there's a little bit of a contradiction. But with hardware, I do feel like value does come into play a little more than games. Mm-hmm. But I feel like that's a little misleading to the average consumer to say the PlayStation VR is a 7.9 and the Valve Vive is an 8.1, when the Vive is going to require a $1,000 PC in addition to an $800 unit, where the PlayStation VR only really requires a $400 to $500 peripheral in addition to the PS4 that most people probably own. I'm not sure I'm comfortable with that precedent, A of all. Mm-hmm. And B of all, if it's not a quality experience, I don't think it's a 7.9. And I don't want to get caught up in the ratings, but if it's not, if it doesn't keep all the light out and it hasn't solved
The sickness.
The sickness problem, that's not a VR experience you want to put in front of people, especially at $500. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, dude. No, I mean, that's a good way to put it, too, because, you question, what do I feel about PlayStation VR? I don't feel anything about that. And I'm really super glad that I canceled the thing. Especially finding this out. I mean, that's my biggest thing. It'd be a paperweight for me. What good is that going to do? I can't do that. And I'm not going to build up a tolerance to it because I don't like feeling sick all the time. It took me at least a year to stop. I kept having VR sickness flashbacks too, where I'd think of it and it would just make me sick. Like if you get food poisoning from McDonald's or some shit. And every time you think about McDonald's, you get sick, for that particular reason. But
any similar nauseous moment with something like that, all of a sudden it was like a flashback to the VR.
Yeah. So just this sickness, just nausea. But I do miss it. Now I'm starting to miss it a little bit. I'll be honest with you. I don't know how long this has been going on. Maybe a couple months, where I've been I might actually like to own a VR headset at some point here. And I guess at some point here, we're going to get to, which one, but definitely not the PlayStation VR. I'd rather have something, I've got my 970, my NVIDIA 970, and I'd probably need to upgrade that for a better experience. But I don't know. It's something I've been thinking about lately because I know there have been, despite the sickness, there were some certain things this sounds corny, but the VR arcade that they have or had, I'm sure it's still around. That was my favorite thing. Look, I couldn't walk around the thing without wanting to puke, but playing arcade games on the arcade machines and stuff, that was freaking amazing, dude. Sure, I could go in my basement and do the exact same thing, but I don't know. I mean, this dingy arcade, they really had the atmosphere set.
Yeah, they nailed the aesthetic of that.
Oh my gosh! Yeah,
that
the
environment.
music.
It was so good, and you could find I hate
stuff.
Green Day, but it was Green Day tapes.
You could find whatever tape you wanted and put them in there, and there was some really cool stuff. I just felt the music, the whole vibe of the thing, like you said, they absolutely nailed it. So that was I thought that was really fun, and I thought it was really clever too that they just ran them through the emulators or whatever. Essentially, I mean, you had to pick up the ROMs for some of the games or whatever, but that I miss. I thought that was really cool, and there was that space there's a billion space exploration ones that I mean, it was just amazing, So I would like to own one again. I'm getting that. I'm kind of maybe even. Say that I'm getting the itch to own one. What about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. So when PlayStation VR hit, I was at work and someone brought in their Gear VR and was showing everybody, and I didn't bring in mine. Everyone thought it was great, and then people were like, "Hey, Mike, did you pre-order a PlayStation VR?" And then trying to not be the geek, I was like, "Yeah, I did, but I canceled it because I had the Oculus." Da 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 da. And then all of a sudden in my head, I'm like, they have no fucking idea what I'm talking about, so I should just stop talking. But it kind of hit me that I was like, you know what? VR is really cool, and it's really fun. And I started to think about some of our past conversations. More specifically, what I wanted out of VR. And if you remember some of our past conversations, I wasn't in on the full room VR.
Right.
I was kind of I just kind of want to sit down and be in a thing. And more recently, I was like, you know what? I kind of just want to have an entirely different experience. And for $800, the Vive does that. And I think it's if hardware can be talked about in terms of value prop, I feel like it has to be mentioned, the total cost of VR, if you don't own a PlayStation 4, right? So for you, if you you don't have a PlayStation 4,
no,
that'd be $300 plus 500. So you're $800 in, right? Okay,
Right.
that's fair enough. But we know that that's probably not an experience that you're going to want.
No.
But you do have a PC. And even if you didn't have that PC, the PC would be $800 plus another 800. So you're looking at double the price. But you're also looking at something that's probably a better gaming machine, etc., however you want to break that down. But if you're looking at VR and you're looking at the cutting edge experience and you're interested in it for the cutting edge experience, and you have if you have disposable income to throw at VR, is the extra $800 a problem? And if it is, if you go, and I'm not saying you shouldn't spend the money, that's not where I'm going. I'm saying if you throw the $500 at a PlayStation VR, I just don't feel like those people are going to be satisfied, and it's going to be another paperweight for them. And I'm feeling like the people that are going to drive VR are like the people like you and me that are on PC and going like, I want the full experience. I want to drive this.
Well,
does that make any sense? I know I rambled a little bit, but I'm just trying to say, like,
that makes sense.
I just don't know if PlayStation VR, if you put PlayStation VR into the hands of the consumer, I just feel like most of them are going to be like, oh yeah, this is really cool, but I don't feel like it's something that the average consumer is going to go, oh, that's something I want to spend $500 on to have in my house. It feels like something that they're like, oh, I would spend $10 to do that one time.
Right. Yeah, I think, we had talked about something a while ago when we were talking about all the different options and what was the most attractive thing. I think I originally said at that point, the PlayStation VR was the most attractive thing for me. And I guess that was before I really thought it through. The reason being is games. I mean, they had committed to, what was it, 80 or 60 or 80 games for the PlayStation VR?
Yeah, and the launch window was like 80 games. I think now it's still like 50, but the term game is up for definition at this point.
That was the thing, like mini game maybe is what it turned into, because I was like, oh great, awesome, if they're actually making actual like, I thought it was going to be like first party stuff, like or third party, like high quality games, you know what I'm saying? I thought it was going to be studio led, like studio made experiences.
Yeah, like this is the next way you're going to play games.
Right, which is why I was so enthusiastic about it. And I guess I didn't really think of the hardware limitations, like as being like the VR sickness isn't going to go away, so I'm automatically not interested. And so there are a lot of things have changed as far as that goes since it's been thought through a little bit more, I guess. And I'm not. There's been some games that have been like essentially ported, and those count as part of the 80 or 50 or whatever the magic number is that they committed to at this point. And I don't know. I mean, we this thought as well. I mean, like we had talked about with certain gaming systems, like, Halo. I always think back to Halo. That was the reason I bought an Xbox, because it was brand new. The experience was incredible, on multiplayer and stuff. And what VR, and we talked about this before too, when VR needed its like Halo moment or something. And I guess I don't feel like we're going to get that from PlayStation with the PlayStation VR. I think it's going to be tossed aside peripheral at some point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think sometimes people forget that this is a peripheral. And again, I need to reference a couple other podcasts in order to kind of articulate a point. But I was listening to PS I Love You XOXO. It's Greg Miller, Colin Moriarty from IGN fame. They were kind of discussing PlayStation VR and saying, look, if you have $500 of disposable income and you want to be on the cutting edge, go ahead and get this thing, and show Sony or the world that you want VR. But at the end of the day, you're kind of going to get this thing and probably play it, and then it might sit on your shelf for a month or two. And I started to question it, because they're usually pretty hardcore shooters about whether they like PlayStation or not, even though they have a PlayStation podcast. But this was the first time that I was like, they're one to mention their disposable income since they have moved on to their individual endeavors. And I'm like, I have disposable income, but I'm smart enough to not spend $500 of my disposable income on something that you're essentially telling me is going to sit on my shelf for 4 months when I could, use that disposable income to buy games. And I guess that's where I'm at. Where I'm where I'm not going to throw money at something in order to support it in the hope that they're going to show me games, because that's what Vita ended up being. And Vita ended up with a lot of support, but I'm not going to put the cart before the horse as far as PlayStation VR goes. But I might be willing to do it with PC because of how innovative the hardware is on PC in comparison to the console iteration.
Well, and to build on that point as well, I mean, I was going to say the PlayStation VR is almost more like a closed system, but it's not. I understand it's not. But hardware limitations are going to close it off from some of the experiences that I don't want to go without. Like, if there's some cool experience that comes out that is like the quote unquote Halo or whatever, Mario Brothers or whatever, Zelda of VR or something, I don't want to miss out on it because I have hardware limitations or something like that. That's the thing I like about the PC based ones is that, look, if I'm limited hardware wise, I can upgrade. Like I can upgrade enough to be able to experience it fully as the author intended,
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I think the other part of it is it's so early in VR that I question the innovation for VR isn't going to come out of Sony and their first party studios when the hardware is limited. It's not, and it's not going to matter regardless. They could sell 15 million of these things. If the hardware is not there to push the boundaries of what VR could or should be, it's not going to happen. What is going to push the boundaries, is the premium experience on PC. And I understand the premium experience is a lot of money, and it's a very, very small subset of people. But just like everything gaming, a lot of innovation is driven on the PC side, whether that's from indies or graphics or this and that. It all starts on PC. I mean, I don't mean to, shatter anyone's dreams here, but games are developed on PCs for the most part, even PlayStation 4 and Xbox One at this point with x86 architecture. So I feel like the innovation is going to come on the PC side, and as an enthusiast, I'd rather be on that side of it and spend the extra money to be there instead of getting these pared down mini game solutions on the console side that again just leave me wanting more. You know what I mean?
And we've talked about this extensively as well. Whereas like VR is like this hallowed thing for us. I mean, theoretically, like it's something that like pretty much all my video gaming life has been something seemingly around the corner and something that I've always wanted to like experience. So of course, when the Oculus came out, like the DK2 that we had both owned.
Yep.
Like once you got one, I was like, I gotta get one. So I bought the PC, I bought the DK2 and all that stuff, and it was fantastic. I just knew that there were going to be better advancements, and at the time I was like, I need to get out of this thing, and I can get out of it fine at this point, and that's why I chose to let go of it. But I mean, I'm still pretty stoked about. I'm really stoked about it, and yeah, I mean, because it's such a hallowed thing for us, I want to be able to experience it on the cutting edge. I mean, that's what it is. It's cutting edge technology, and I want to be on the cutting edge. So yeah, it's either Oculus or the Vive for me. I'm not really sure which one of those yet.
Yeah, so for me, I was not total room guy on the Vive, but so I thought about this more. And again, this is why this kind of came up with people reviewing the PlayStation VR, as they were saying, hey, if you have those controllers in your hand and the camera's in front of you and you turn around, that camera can't find those controllers. And I think that's a problem Oculus is having. right? Because they don't have the full room stuff. And if I'm going all in on VR, I want an entirely different experience. And for me, I'm willing to spend that money. And whether maybe I'm just, making eggs in a kitchen, I don't care what it is, but I have changed my focus, and I want a full solution to virtual reality, not just sit on your couch and sit in a tank or sit in a car, sit in the spaceship. I want innovations around gaming that take advantage of all of the technology, and we're just not there yet. That doesn't mean I'm not excited about it. We're just not there yet,
Yeah, I agree. But so what are the costs? The Vive is what, $800, and the Oculus is what now?
So the Vive's $800, and that comes with the
full room,
all the cameras, and the motion controllers, and the headset. And the Oculus is just the primary camera, the headset, and then they are releasing the controllers, which sounds like they're going to be $200, which puts it on par with the Vive, but you still don't have that full room scale camera stuff. And then you got PlayStation VR, which is $399 or $499 if you need the camera and the controllers. So it's still expensive. I mean, that's the other part of it. Regardless of what anyone wants to talk about disposable income, it's still expensive. $500 is not cheap. And that's where I just go, like, if I'm going to spend $500, I want to make sure I'm going to enjoy this, and it's not me just riding roller coasters.
Well, that's the problem. And look, I've run into this before. You've run into this before. Everybody that's listening out there has either run into this before or will run into this, where it's like sometimes we try to take the cheap way out, and then we end up regretting it. And not always, but most of the time, you end up regretting taking the cheap way out. Like, look, PlayStation VR is maybe a cheaper option overall, or the Oculus is overall, cheaper than the Vive at this point. But, are you going to regret not spending that extra couple $100 in the end? Probably, if
you have a PC.
It depends. Right. Well, yeah, sure. That's what I mean. Yeah. But is it worth it? I mean, what is the subject? VR? Is it worth it? Yeah, I would go all in. If I was going to do VR again, which I probably will at some point, I'm going all in. I would upgrade, maybe I'd get another 970 or something and tether them together. Or I don't really know what I would do, but I'd probably upgrade my video card again, and I would go all in. I'd probably go with the full. I want the full. I said this from the beginning. The full room experience sounds awesome. That's what I want.
Yeah.
I don't want to play like Office King or whatever the hell that is. Like, I don't want to be in like virtual
job simulator, I think was.
Oh my God, that's the dumbest idea. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and when I was, and that's the funny part is I was like, I don't want that. I like. 6 months ago or a year ago, I was like, I don't want that. But now I'm like, no, that's what I want when it comes to VR, because we have 50-inch TVs and yada, yada, yada now. Like, I don't need to have a headset on when I'm sitting on my couch. If I go for that experience, I want something new. I want to be ducking and covering. I want to be jumping. I want to be twisting. I don't even know what I want. Somebody show me. And I think that's the missing piece right now, is we have this great technology that we're all like, this could be so awesome, but no one's really shown us why. No one's really justified the purchase for me yet. And I'm not going to just throw money at it because I have disposable income. That's a dumb reason to spend money.
Oh, yeah, same here. Absolutely. I have other things that I think I would prioritize right now that I would actually, that I know I would enjoy playing more, Right.
When it comes to disposable income, it's like, well, it's disposable, but there's also ways to prioritize it. I'm not going to throw money at something.
Disposable. With disposable income, I still don't piss that away.
Yeah, you don't piss it away. And I think that's something.
I don't think the itch is quite to that point yet.
I mean, I pissed a lot of money away on dumb things, but, we're not talking, $600, $700, $800 on virtual reality just so I can ride roller coasters. Like, no, I'm not going to do that again. And in fairness, the dev kits were not that much. They were $350, and someone could say, well, that's not the full experience. Like, yo, it doesn't matter about the headset at this point. I've seen enough of the software to know that I need to see more software-wise in order to justify my purchase. So
yeah, I agree with you. So I mean, it's something that I think we'll probably talk about more as we go on as well, because like I said, I mean, really in the last couple months, there have been a couple times where I've been like, oh man, that sounds awesome. Like when we were talking to Blake J. Harris.
Yeah, good call out.
And the immersive experiences, like you can do the Ghostbusters experience where it's like actually, you know, in this layout, this area that's specifically made for that, and it's just a fully immersive thing. I want that too, you know, like that. I don't know, that maybe kind of sparked it for me.
Yeah, well, me too. I think that goes back to that other conversation though, as far as, you know, that was an experience that people paid like $50-$60 to do, and they're like, oh, that was fun. Like at what point do you say, that was so fun, I'm going to spend the $500 to $800 to have that in my house? And like, that's where I'm still just not sure how this thing measures up as far as a mainstream consumable for people.
Well, and you know, we talk about this all the time. Like, I'll go and spend $5,000 on a pinball machine or something like that, but then you'll ask like, hey man, you should buy this game for $12. It's on Steam. And I'll be like, meh.
True.
I don't know, you know? Like,
yeah, it's tough.
There's what, like there's this game for like $2 on Steam, and I'm like, meh.
Yeah,
you know?
true. It's value's kind of all in the. Yeah, I feel you. But when it comes to a general consumer, I think the consumption of those products is a little more general to the fact that, you know, I feel like as far as the PlayStation VR goes, if they launch this thing and people are like, have the same experience as we did, is like, oh, I did the Batman thing, I did the roller coaster thing, I did the tank thing, as a whole bunch of fun, and then that's it. I feel like there's going to be a lot of these things sitting on shelves. I feel like they need, and the other problem is they have not come out and said, hey, we've got all of these launch games, not to mention we've got all of this great content coming up for you, you know, in 2017. And they have not said anything, and that scares me. Yeah. And that makes me think that maybe it's just not quite mature enough to be a product that I want to spend that much money on, and that includes the PC side. The difference with the PC side is it's open, and you get everything. And I'm going to say this, and this isn't a joke, but the PC side does have this open adult community, and I wouldn't underestimate that. Right. That's probably 70%. I don't know the number, but that's a huge driver on the internet. But in addition to the adult community, there's adult content and an open platform for people to publish VR content too. And if you think about how popular Second Life was in the late 90s and early 2000s,
right, and
people just latched onto that, where Second Life ended up being $1 billion, essentially just like $1 billion, not a company, but just $1 billion a year business. VR on PC probably won't be far behind that. Now, does that mean there's going to be great games? I don't know. But I feel as far as being a successful peripheral, PC is probably the way it's going to happen first. And then maybe, you know, barrel down to the consumer level. I mean, I could be completely wrong, but I feel like PC has a lot more going for it in the way of an open platform where people want to engage with VR in ways that a console won't allow people to do, as perverse as that might be.
No, that makes sense.
You know?
Yeah. Well, like I said, this is probably something we'll probably talk about at some point soon, and I think probably, God, what do you think? At some point here, we're both going to end up with one. I can probably predict that. Yeah,
I'll probably have a Vive. So we're far enough in where I would assume there's going to be revisions coming out. Yeah. I don't know if they're going to get better, but I think they're to the point where they're like, hey, an $800 price point is too much. Yeah. So I think it's going to go to the point where how we see like the Xbox Slim unit or the PlayStation Slim or whatever. I think it's going to get to the point where they release the same tech, but they release it cheaper. Otherwise, they're kind of shitting on the people that were early adopters from a fact that they're like, oh, this is way better. And people kind of are accustomed to the fact that as tech gets older, it gets cheaper. So I think we're into the point now where they're going to try to drive the price down in order to get more people to purchase it. And,
well, it'll get to that point where I'm just like, I'll do it.
Yeah, I mean, here's the deal. If the Vive got down to 600, I'd buy it.
Yeah.
And
is that your price point? I'd probably 500 or 600.
Yeah, I think if tomorrow, if the Vive was like, hey, we're $599, I'd probably buy it at $599. And I know the $200, it's like, oh, you're talking about the PC. Is that really a big difference? And it's like, yeah, it is, because $200 here, $200 there is a lot of money when you're talking about a full, entertainment budget. And I feel like, I don't know, $490. We've always said $499 for the PC side, and I think $499 with the full setup is the money spot. But yeah, if tomorrow they said, $599, I'd probably jump.
Yeah, probably. So, anyway, yeah, man. Well, we'll. I'm definitely going to keep an eye on it. That's so crazy to me that the PlayStation VR is almost out, because when we were talking about that last, I was like, man, that seems so far away in October. I'm like, holy crap, it's October,
Yeah.
So anyway, I know there's some other stuff you wanted to talk about, and there's a few things I'll talk about too. But why don't you go ahead and usher us into that? What do you got to talk about, Mike?
Oh, right on. So last podcast, I didn't have a lot to say about Forza 3 or Madden out of the gate. Let's start with Forza Horizon 3.
Okay.
If you're a fan of racing games, Mitch.
This is true. I love racing games.
You're a fan of arcade racing games.
Yeah, of course.
Forza Horizon 3 is the ultimate hybrid of a game that plays like a sim racer.
Okay.
But doesn't punish you if you're not good at sim racing. As a matter of fact, it rewards you for not being good at it.
Really?
Does that make any sense?
That makes absolutely no sense, to be completely honest.
Let me give you an example.
Okay.
If you want to play Forza 3 as a sim racer and drift and pass and have clean lines and fly through races and get first place, you are welcome to play that game that way, and you're going to be rewarded for it.
Uh-huh.
Or if you have a race. Now, granted, this is not closed circuit. This is kind of all open world.
Yep.
If you have an endpoint and it goes, hey, you need to get from here to there, and you don't want to drive on the roads, and you just decide to drive through open fields and dodging trees and taking jumps, and you get first place, you're going to get points for that too. This is the ultimate racing game for those that don't like racing games. It is so much fun. It is an open world. I don't even know if I would call it a racing game. Here's a game with an open world that you happen to just be in a car, and you're going to earn experience points no matter what you do.
Right.
I mean, it's so much fun.
It sounds like fun.
Here's the thing. The ultimate goal of Forza 3 is you're essentially a festival promoter. And your goal is to open festivals in 3 areas, I think, 3 or 4 or 5 areas of Australia. And in doing so, you need to collect more fans. And you can collect more fans by racing in more races or doing crazy stunts or doing all these jumps. For me, none of that matters. For me, there's this gigantic open world that I can go do whatever the hell I want in a Lamborghini. I can race my Lamborghini through my Vikings painted Lamborghini, by the way, which I tweeted out earlier. I can race my Vikings painted Lamborghini through fields, off jumps, through, the beach. you can buy you can buy anything and just race the hell out of it and destroy anything, and it's like the world is your oyster. It's the funnest game I've played all year. And it's even if you're not a racing fan, you get into a car and you drive around, you smash stuff, you race people. It's great. And like
that sounds like something I would enjoy.
Yeah, and so the other cool part about it and things that Forza does is if you have people on your friends list, they have the Drivatar. Have you heard of this?
Yeah, I played Forza before.
Okay, so the Drivatar is people on your friends list. Just to explain it, people on your friends list that aren't actually playing the game can still be in your game. And so if you if I see Mitch Neubauer, drive by me, I can be like, oh, I can honk at you, and your virtual car will start following me. And so even if you're not online, I'm like, oh, Mitch and I are just rolling around. And if you collect enough people, you can be like, hey, let's all have a race. So it can be, it's just like the way that they have like made a pseudo online community, even when your friends aren't online, is one of the funnest things I've ever played.
Awesome.
So
that sounds fun. Can you like smash up your friend's car or something like that? Like, well, they're not like, can you like bust up their car and then like when they come back online, they're like, what happened to my car?
No, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. No, man. That would be awesome though. No, you can't.
That'd be the ultimate.
So anyway, moving on. Madden. I'm still playing Madden.
I can't believe this. When's the last time you? I guess the one with Favre on it, was that like the last one that you played for like an extended amount of time? Or?
Yeah, it might have been. Here's the thing about this year's Madden.
Yeah.
The great thing about Madden so far is they have a lot of extra controls, right? Like, hey, you can throw the ball high, you can throw the ball low. The good thing about it is this year, there's a lot of difficulty settings that like if you don't want to use those controls, don't use them. Turn the difficulty down to a setting you're comfortable with, and the game will play like real football. Now, if you're advanced enough, you could jump into those modes and just destroy everybody.
Right.
But if you're advanced enough and you want more of a challenge, you can level up and say, oh, I'm going to go all pro. I'm going to go all Madden. The past Maddens, when you used to play higher levels, no matter how good you were, felt cheap.
Yeah.
This is the first season that I've continued to play where if I fuck up, I'm like, that was on me. It wasn't because the computer made a mistake or cheated. It wasn't because, they switched a play call. It was because I did something stupid. It's the first time I've ever had that with Madden. Probably the last 5 years. And so, man, I'm still playing Madden, which is crazy to me.
Yeah, I know. You complain about it every single year, so that's awesome. Good for Madden.
So I'm not complaining about Madden this year.
Stepping it up.
Topic number 3. Paper Mario. Mitch, you played Paper Mario Sticker Star on. Was it 3DS that Sticker Star was on? Yep.
I played many Paper Marios. I played and beat 3 of them. I got the one on the GameCube was the first one that I played and beat, and 64, and then the Sticker Star from 3DS was the last one that I beat. I loved it.
All right, so give me some background here, because there seems to be some conversation online about Paper Mario starting out as an RPG, and then when it got to Sticker Star not being an RPG.
Yeah, it definitely I'm hopefully I don't get these mixed up. It's been a little bit before I played them, but basically the difference was, the other ones were more RPG like, whereas you'd get a certain amount of points and then you could upgrade either the amount of hearts that you get. I think you might have been able to do that in the Sticker Star. I don't remember, but you can either you can upgrade one of 3 areas. anyway, and once I got to the Sticker Star, I didn't like it at first. I was just kind of like, meh. It's a thing where I think a lot of the people that are probably complaining about the style of it probably, just really didn't get too deep into it. But I was intrigued. So what happens in the Sticker Star is each person, each of your friends or whatever had like a specific like ability in the other one, and there was a certain command that you'd give for each of them. Like you'd hold the analog stick back until like it hit this certain point, and then you'd quick go forward. If you timed it right, then you get maximum amount of points. It was kind of like that, but in Sticker Star, at least you'd pick up like a hammer, or you'd pick up a certain type of hammer, or like a certain type of jump or something like that. You would have to actually like seek out your attack, and then you'd have like an album with all the ones that you've collected that you choose from, instead of just having like standard attacks. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Well, it does, because Paper Mario Color Splash is the same way.
Okay.
So here's the cool thing. It actually takes advantage of the Wii U gamepad. And it's kind of gimmicky, but essentially, when you get to a battle, it's like you have your cards. There's cards this time.
Yep,
Your cards have a variety of actions on them, whether it's a boot or essentially you have a boot, which is a minor attack.
Are you saying about in Canadian?
No,
I'm just kidding.
a boot. No.
A boot? I'm sorry. I had to go there.
I feel you. And then you have two boots, which is kind of your medium attack card, and then you have like a super boot, you hoser. And then
Okay.
you collect paint throughout the worlds, essentially, and I'm going to really dumb this down. So anyway, all of your cards are unpainted. Unless you like win a card, then that card is painted and you can do whatever. So essentially, once you get into battle, it's kind of like South Park Stick of Truth in a way, right?
Okay.
Where you're like, okay, I've got 3 guys I need to battle. I'm going to battle this first guy. And so you drag a card to kind of a placeholder on the Wii U gamepad. And then that card, you can decide how much power you want the card to have based on the enemy, right? So you can go, I'm going to use 1 boot, but I don't really think I need much power to beat this. So each card being a blank canvas, you can paint it. And the more paint you put onto the card, the more powerful the card is.
Okay, I see.
So you're like, oh, I like this guy's a pansy. I'm just going to use this 1 boot, and I'm only going to use 50% because I want to save my paint for the final guy.
Right.
And load that thing up. And then you flick the fun part with the Wii U gamepad is once you decide what you have, you flick the gamepad and it flicks the card to your TV.
Oh, cool.
And then that's the card you're playing. So it's charming. It's really cool. And then you just kind of hit A, and then it's kind of the timing-based attacks, right? So the next thing you know, you go, and then it's like you're going to jump on the Goomba or whatever it might be, and you hit A. And if you time it right, you can hit A a couple more times and really crush it. There's not a lot of... It's really not that difficult because obviously the game is made for, 34, 35-year-olds and 12-year-olds.
Yeah.
But man, it's a lot of fun, and I'm going to say it, as much as I love Forza and Madden and all these games I played this year, this is the most charming, most aesthetically impressive games I played this year. It looks so good. They're Paper Marios, man. And
Paper Mario's always good.
It always is, but like even little things like the wind comes and they start to wobble in the wind, or all the little things. And so if you liked Sticker Star, this is more Sticker Star, but it's I think it's better in every way. And a lot of people are complaining about it. And I think it's so charming. I think the combat is simple, but if you just stop going, well, it should be this because this is what RPGs are. It's like, dog, at your mid 30s, you need to stop expecting Nintendo to make like it's
the same game over and over again.
It's Paper Mario, man. This still needs to be playable by kids. It's Nintendo.
Plus, I mean, for Nintendo as well, I mean, really, that is a top-notch franchise. They're always good, no matter what. And look, Sticker Star was totally felt like it was geared towards 6-year-olds, but man, that game is fun. It was a blast, dude. And this is the thing. I mean, I finished it, but I'm gonna go back. I feel like I want to go back and like find all the little hidden stuff that was in there, like the special ones or something that I didn't find. It's cool. It's all those Paper Marios. Those are like some of my, I've only played 3 and beaten 3 of them. But some of my favorite games I've ever played, really, they're so addicting. And you got to get past that first initial, like, oh, I'm disappointed because this isn't like the others. And look, I did that too. I admitted to it. But I didn't stop. I just kept playing. And man, I think it was probably like, it was just as good as the rest of them. I'm not going to say one is better than the other. They're all good, And this makes me want to, like, vulture a Wii U. Like soon, once once the NX comes out, I'm totally gonna go out and vulture one of these Wii U's. And man, there's a lot of games I want to play on the Wii U.
I've got like 50 of them.
I know you do.
No, but I think you made a good point there. I think it's not only that this isn't like the others as much as. Yes, not drawing expectations to the other Paper Marios that have existed, but like kind of not drawing expectations for what you think Paper Mario should be. Yeah, right? Like if you just enjoy the game for what it is, it's one of the most charming, visually impressive. I mean, Carrie was sitting on the couch last night, like just watching me play it, and she was like, this is just fun to watch you play. And then they don't talk in it. It's just like, text conversations and jokes. And like the text jokes and conversations are just fun. And it's, again, some of this stuff isn't made to, like, if you want to go play a heavy-handed RPG, go play Dark Souls. Or go play,
right.
Go play something like that. But if you want a good, fun Mario game, a good, fun Paper Mario game that has light RPG mechanics that the whole family can have fun with, I think this is a good time. And I can understand people saying, well, it's not like the other Paper Marios. Okay, that's fine. You don't like...
Well, now it is.
Well,
now it is, because it's like the 3DS one.
Yeah, well, now it is, right? But like that's a fine complaint. But like at the same,
I don't know. Anybody out there that thinks that, honestly, I give it a shot, man. Like I can't speak for the one on the Wii U, but I can speak for like Paper Mario Sticker Star on 3DS. It was awesome. Like, and I love the other Paper Marios. Like, they're all awesome. That period. It's just such a like high level franchise as far as fun goes. Like. It really is. It's like, I think it's one of Nintendo's best franchises. And I know a lot of people out there are gasping at me saying that, but it really is. Paper Mario's the shit. Paper Mario's awesome.
Paper Mario's always been great. I think it's also one of these things where it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't. Right? Where if they did the exact same thing over and over, people would be like, well, it's the same Paper Mario I played last time. People
are going to complain about that.
And then they switch it to Sticker Star, and then people are like, oh, well, now I'm just meeting a bunch of toads, and then they stick. You're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. But man, this game, I'm in.
So creative and so clever, like all of it is.
It's just super clever, but it doesn't always take a ton of thought to play. But that doesn't mean that it's not fun or innovative, and that's what I love about it. And in general, that's kind of what I love about Nintendo games. Like they innovate without trying too hard, and I think this latest release is just phenomenal. So if you have a Wii U, go get it. If you don't like it, I'm not going to give you any money if you don't like it, but it's real good.
Right on.
So yeah, that's
cool.
That's kind of it for me. I had some 4Ks, some other stuff, but I don't think anything super relevant for this evening.
Yeah, right on. Well, I've just been up to the same stuff I've always been up, and I'll keep it brief. I texted you a picture of a before and after. I'm actually stenciling an old EM pinball machine, and for those of you who don't know, EM is electromechanical. There's no computers or anything. Solid state is when computers were, I guess, implemented in pinballs. But so it's from 73 or something. It's a Bally Twin Win. It's a racing themed pinball machine. It's actually super cool. I've kind of had that thing for almost 2 years now, and I've always been like, I'm going to re-stencil that, and I'm going to get that working and stuff. And I finally got the stencil this week. I was just like, screw it. I'm going to get that stencil, and I'm going to do it. And the before and after picture, we should throw those up on Twitter at some point. It's like,
I'll get them up there.
Astounding. It was filth. I mean, it was just disgusting before, and completely sanded everything down, prepped everything perfectly. And man, it's vibrant. And the funny thing was the back glass looks so good on that thing. And then I did this, and now the back glass looks like a little dingier than it did before because... You know what I'm saying? Everything else looks so good. It kind of brought that. So I don't know. It's fun, man. I really enjoy re-stenciling machines like that. Last time I had talked about the Stranger Things, the machines, Stranger Things building an arcade for season 2. And I put up my Baby Pac-Man and Burger Time. Well, unfortunately, they're looking for like really just like staples of the 80s arcades right now, like Pac-Man, Galaga, all that stuff. So anyway, I threw up my re-stenciled like mint repro Pac-Man cabinet for a bunch of cash. I mean, it's like basically like you can have it if you pay me this much, but you can't have it if you don't pay me this much. You know what I'm saying? I put so much work into that thing. That's actually the one machine that I go down in the basement and I'm like, damn, that looks amazing. And it should be old news by now, but it's not. It's so amazing. But if I did end up selling it, then there'd be a mint Pac-Man on Stranger Things that I could be like, that's mine, which would be cool. And actually, I have a Miss Pac-Man that I could redo, completely re-stencil and everything, and make Miss Pac-Man's a better looking cabinet in the end. So I'd be able to live with myself as far as that goes. So, but yeah, I mean, for the most part, I'm just doing my thing, man. I'm just I'm really stuck in the pinball. I wouldn't call it a rut because I don't feel like it's a rut, but for the sake of conversation, yes. But man, I'm having a blast. I'm still really enjoying that. I pulled out some of my handhelds the other day. I was playing some 3DS, and I don't know, man. I've been kind of getting the itch to to hook my NES up again. It's been a while, and one of my favorite games on there that just doesn't get as much credit as it deserves is Gradius. Gradius is like the best shoot 'em up that I know of on a retro. It's like my favorite shoot 'em up. So I might do some of that. So, but beyond that, I mean, there's nothing really too earth shattering. I guess I should know by next week if they want the Pac-Man or not. So I'll update you on that. But for the most part, that's pretty much it. Just doing what I do. I just play games all the time.
Well, and we talked about that. That's kind of it. It's like sometimes we kind of hit, and that's probably kind of why we took a week off. At some point, like we talked during the week, and like at some point, it's like, we're kind of hitting this little thing where we know what each of us are doing, and you go like, does anyone else care? And then you kind of hit the podcast. But I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things, though. But like, you got me. I'm still playing some of that pinball arcade.
Right on.
I'm still playing some of it.
Yeah. Cool. Well, that's all I got for this week, Mike. Do you got anything else you want to add on top of that? Any other topics that you want to attack, or you want to save it for next week?
I think we can probably save it for next week.
Right on. Well, of course, always exciting retro stuff happening. We'll talk about next week, and retro and new. But for the RetroGameFix.com Retro Jones podcast number 91, this is Mitch.
And this is Mike.
And we'll see you next week.
See ya.